Hello and welcome to another trip report, the last one by train on the journey from the Netherlands to Iceland by train, ferry and also bus, because there are no trains in Iceland. What I do in this video, I show you the railway station where I'm departing and also where I changed trains. No, where I arrived, I mean. Normally I show the railway station where I'm departing from, but in this series for the trains it's a little bit different because I already featured the stations where I departed the first episodes from. I show you the train and some views from the train. I hope you like this video. If you do so, give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more trip reports, subscribe to the channel. The next one will be the cool one on the ferry. I'm really looking forward to this. I don't know if I'm still enthusiastic at the end of that video, but anyway, that's on the next episode for this journey. For now, I hope you like it. If you do so, give me a thumbs up. And I talk way too much. Let's roll the intro. But first, let's take a closer look at the original planning for this journey. We take a train from The Hague in the Netherlands to Hirtshals in Denmark. Of course, it's not a direct train. From Hirtshals, a ferry to Iceland in the east part, and from there on a bus to Reykjavik. This video will be about the train from Aalborg via Hjørring, where we have to change trains to Hirtshals. This train is being operated by the Nordjyske Jernbaner. If I pronounce it right, sorry for my Danish. Even though these are two very regional commuter lines, for long distance train passengers that's also combine traveling by ferry and train, these might be very interesting connections, because both from Hirtshals and from Frederikshavn you will find ferry connections to Norway, Sweden, and once per week also serving Iceland and the Faroe Islands. That's the ferry we'll be taking on the next episode of this journey. By the way, this very basic map what I just made in Paint is only showing the ferry connections from Frederikshavn and Hirtshals. It's not showing any other international ferry connections, but one relatively new connection that I really like to highlight is the ferry connection from Kristiansand in Norway to Eemshaven in the Netherlands. We spent the night in Aalborg, and this was a little bit cheaper for us than staying in Hirtshals, so this is why we did that. Even though we needed to buy a separate ticket for this, because we already spent one other night on this trip in Hamburg in Germany. It's really a nice city, but we didn't have that much time to discover the city. It's not a long walk from the city center to the railway station. As a matter of fact, the trains that we'll be taking today do have a railway station that's closer to the city center, but I only found out after we were on board of this train. So we took the bus to the main station. Even though we bought a ticket all the way to Hirtshals from the Netherlands, we spent the night here, so we had to buy a separate ticket for the journey by train to Hirtshals. I've bought this ticket through the DSB app, what is the state-owned railway company of Denmark. It also included the buses in Aalborg, what was really nice, especially because we were having quite a lot of luggage. Well, I will not do a station review of Aalborg. I already did this in the previous video on this journey. So let's move to the rolling stock of NJ straight away. At the front, the back and at the side at several spots of the train, the final destination has been given, and icons, mainly big icons at the windows, but also some other basic icons do indicate facilities for these trains as well. The most important ones is the accessible area and the area for passengers traveling with their bikes. For now, let's hop on board and let's change the angle of my camera to ultra wide. By the way, I entered this train via the other door as where I just ended the exterior video. Both at the front and at the back of the train you'll find, well, mainly seats in a classical train composition. There are also some occasional airline style seats. Screens at the ceiling throughout the train do host very clear route information, and there's a lower part that's also more accessible where you find the toilet. I'll get back to the toilet in a bit, because no train tour is complete without doing a toilet review. Spots for bikes were numbered. I can understand this in a way, and especially for people who make longer distances in connection with the ferry. I don't know if you need to make a reservation for this, or if you have a reservation that you have priority. If you know this, just let me know in the comments. Litter bins are located near the entrance and exit doors of these trains. Personally, I didn't find the luggage racks that big. My bag didn't fit in. But of course, you can also use the space between the back ends of the seats. Of course, these are true commuter trains, so they don't need a lot of luggage space. However, they do still connect on long distance ferries, so I think more long distance passengers will use these trains, as you might assume. And here's a map of the North Jutland railways again. I'll get back to this a little bit later on in the video. Between the seats at the lower part there are power plugs. And the seats that do face each other, well, this is how the seating pitch is. It's pretty okay, and I really like the bigger table. For the airline style seats, you find a table in the seat in front of you, and these tables are quite big. I really like it. The seats are not reclinable, and the seating pitch, well, for commuter trains it's okay. However, I found some seats where you have way more legroom, but no tray table in the seat in front of you. This is really good. I was happy that I was one of the first passengers on board, because later on it got pretty busy. As I promised, also a toilet tour, and this is how the toilet is. There's only one toilet within this train, and this toilet is also accessible. So this means you have some support rails for those who need this, and you can also use this as a diaper changing space. This is pretty common for the accessible toilets in trains, by the way. For the rest, it seemed okay within these toilets. Most important, it looked clean. I did not test everything out, by the way. On this network, there are quite a lot of stops on request. For most international passengers, this will probably not be needed. But for people who use these trains as a true commuter train, well, they need this. The line maps do indicate what stops or stops on request. And this is basically all stops between Frederikshavn and Skagen, and between Hjørring and Hirtshals. For now, I'll show you some views from the train between Aalborg and Hjørring, and I'll get back to you in a bit to show you the other rolling stock and the other railway stations. Even though there are direct trains between Aalborg and Hirtshals, in the weekend you have to change trains in Hjørring, and I pronounced that town totally wrong. This is basically the main railway station of the North Jutland railways, though the main hub, mainly for changing trains. It's not a big railway station, and I did not even went into the main railway station building. The different connecting trains do wait for each other at this railway station, what makes it really convenient. There is a terminal track for trains to Hirtshals, and this is also where our train departed from. You'll find a ramp and stairs to the platforms, and the main railway station building is here at the right. Screens with information about departing trains are given all over the place. And also outside of the main railway station building there are some vending machines where you can buy train tickets. And this here is our next train on this route. This is a Desiro multiple unit of the type Siemens Desiro. Well, just like the previous trains, these trains are really simple and are true commuter trains. I think they have about the same capacity. Just like for the previous trains, icons at the side do host some basic facilities, what you can find where and where to enter the train for what facilities. And something I haven't mentioned yet, Wi-Fi is also available within these trains. Also for the previous trains, by the way. Well, the layout is in the great picture about the same, and things for bikes as well. However, something I really found very different within these trains compared to the previous trains is, at the moment you find luggage racks above the seats. It's way bigger, there's way more space over here. Just like the previous train, near the entrance doors of the train there are some line maps that will host route information and also show what stops or stops on request. And the stop buttons for the request stops are located right under the luggage racks. Of course, no train tour is complete without doing a toilet review. So here we go. These toilets are also accessible but cannot be turned into a nursery space for babies. For the rest I really don't know else what I can say about this. For now, I'll show you some views from the train between Hjørring and Hirtshals. I'll get back to you at the railway station of Hirtshals, because I will also highlight that railway station, although it's not that big. The railway station of Hirtshals is a terminal station, and it literally feels like a terminal station as well. This is the end of Denmark, and from here on you continue your journey by ferry. And this railway station, it's not very big. There is a parking spot for bikes, what can also be used as a hiding space for when it will be raining. And there are some kind of bus stops that will function like places where you can wait inside for bad weather. Of course, there are digital screens that will host passenger service information, and there are vending machines for train tickets. Something I noticed at the moment we arrived here by train is that for the Color Line terminal there's a special walkway to the terminal. It's partially right next to the tracks, and later on there is a covered walkway to the ferry terminal. This is really good integrated. For the ferries of Fjordline and Smeerline that will use the same terminal, by the way, there is a bus connection. This is not for free or included in your ticket, at least not for Smeerline, but you can pay within the bus, and you can only pay by card. Over here at the side of the railway station there's also a taxi stand and a big parking spot. Right next to this there's a big supermarket located where we've bought some stuff for our journey to Iceland. Even though there are some budget-friendly alternatives on board of the ferry, we didn't want to depend too much on the ferry restaurants. So this is why we bought some stuff. For now, let's take a look at the environmental impact on this route by train, car and plane. The lower part is for this specific section of the video, and the upper part is for the entire route from The Hague in the Netherlands to Hirtshals in Denmark. Of course, trains won't clean the air, but the environmental impact if you're traveling by train is a lot lower than any kind of other motorized transportation. If you are interested in other trip reports, of course you can find them on this channel, and something else you find in the description of this video is a link to a map. And on this map you find all trip reports. The lines do indicate the routes and the icons do indicate the railway station or ferry terminal reviews. This channel is mainly focusing on long distance and international train, and where trains are not possible, ferry traveling. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. If you did so, once again give me a thumbs up, and if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button. The next video will be on that ferry you can see behind me, from here in Denmark, as from Hirtshals via Faroe Islands to Iceland. I'm really looking forward for that. Might be some stormy weather along the way. I don't know if I still like it afterwards, but we'll find out in the next video. Once again, thank you for watching, and see you on my next video.